Am I the a-hole for laughing at my former stepmom and saying she is getting what she deserves? I'm 16 female, by the way. Parents got divorced since they got married young and grew apart. Dad got remarried and had more kids, and my mom did not. My stepmom and dad got divorced, which was amazing because my stepmom insisted on me not having my own room, since I apparently don't live there except for every other weekend, but her kids do. She obviously favored them and made it clear that she loved me less, and told me what to do even though it was not her right. She always told me that growing up with divorced parents and step-parents is normal, and that I played victim. Now, my dad and mom are getting remarried after reconnecting as older people. My former stepmom is freaking out about it. It is all like, "You won't last," and talking about the kids my dad and she had together. I laughed at her and told her that she shouldn't be so worried if she thinks the way she treated me was okay. I told her that my mom was 100 times the person she would ever be, and that she would be a great stepmom and like her. I told her that her kids would have bedrooms and not be treated like less. I also told her that she should stop playing victim. She then cried and said, "I don't understand." So I was wondering if I'm being an a-hole because I am getting what I want, and there was no need to rub it in. Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. A lot of step-parents have blinders on and take no accountability. She sounds like one of them. I would suggest to keep your distance going forward, however, for your own sake. I totally am determined to make it as easy on my half-siblings as possible. You are very solidly not a-hole territory here. You and your mom are going to show your stepmom how it is supposed to be done. Not a-hole. Even though my stepson was only with us on school holidays due to living far away, he still has his own bedroom. Why would you make a kid feel like they don't belong in what is supposed to be their family? It really messes you up. You are a good step-parent. Thank you so much for your compliment. And that's why we always try to have a bedroom for him. Not always possible when we lived in a 3-bedroom house. He shared with his brother and our daughters shared a room. But as soon as we moved to a bigger house, the girls shared a room and the boys each got their own room. Because even though he was with us so little of the year, he still was part of the family and should have his own space with his own things in it. And from other comments I read from you, you are a good sibling and will make sure your siblings are treated right, and your mom will be a good stepmom. Not a-hole. If that's how you feel, then you have a right to express it. Let her reflect on her behavior. Like, I literally get how hard it's gonna be on my half-siblings. I lived through it, so I would never make them feel even worse. My mom knows how their mom treated me and how it made me feel, and she would never be the same. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not sticking up for my grandmother after my wife told her to F off out of her hospital room? About 3 weeks ago, my wife, 33, went into premature labor with our daughter at 31 weeks. It was entirely unexpected, and both my wife and our daughter had a horrible time, and it became quite dangerous for the both of them. My wife became preeclamptic among other serious complications, and for the first week, we weren't even sure if either my wife or our daughter would make it. Luckily, they both survived, but our daughter is still in the NICU after 3 weeks, and probably will be in for another 3, and my wife is still in the hospital as well. It has been a horrible struggle for my wife. Before this, she was a very healthy and active person, and even during most of her pregnancy, she was able to maintain a somewhat active lifestyle. But because of the trauma her body went through, she is basically starting back from square one and hasn't even been able to hold our daughter yet. My wife has had a lot of struggle so far with her birth trauma and feels so confused and hurt by her experience. She told me that she feels betrayed by her own body. And even in some of her weakest moments, she even said she regretted getting pregnant entirely because of how much she has suffered. And she is so worried she'll never be the person she was again. She feels horrible for having these feelings, but I and multiple mental health professionals have been working to help and support her through this. We finally have reached a point where we can receive visitors. Her family lives close, but my family lives 3 states away and have been waiting the chance to meet the baby and check in on my wife. My parents and grandparents flew down, and I warned my family beforehand that my wife and daughter are still at a very fragile stages, and to be patient. When I brought them in to see my wife, my grandmother immediately went and wanted to talk to her about the birth and her experience. My wife told her that it was one of the worst experiences of her life, and my grandmother responded by telling her that the worst is yet to come, and that struggling is what being a mother is about. My wife got very upset over this comment and started screaming at her to F off and to get the heck out. I had never seen my wife like this, and I could tell she was feeling extremely stressed, and I quickly escorted my family out. I told them it would be best if they leave for now and we could talk later as not to cause even more stress on my wife. My family said they were appalled by my wife's behavior and me for not defending my grandmother. But at the end of the day, I feel that it is my responsibility to be my wife's advocator all of the time, but especially now. It has become a bit of a tension in my extended side of the family, however, but I haven't told my wife about it because I don't want to stress her out, and I plan to deal with this alone entirely. Should I apologize on my wife's behalf? If I am the a-hole, I'll own up to it, but I don't see my wife as an a-hole at all. Should I apologize on my wife's behalf? No. They had one job, but your grandmother just had to swoop in without outdated mentality and tell a woman who's gone through hell and back the worst is yet to come and that struggling is what being a mother is about. Who the hell tells someone in your wife's position that? Not the a-hole, but you will be if you apologize to them for their appalling behavior. The baby barely made it. No part of parenting is worse than when your kid is in serious danger. None of it. Hopefully that is as close as you will ever come to losing your baby, and thus parenting will never get worse. Only a monster would say differently. Grandma was so swept up in being all-knowing and looking down on y'all that she couldn't see the tragedy in front of her. Yep. Grandma was totally apathetic. His wife and baby almost died. She's had kids of her own. She should know that even the easiest births aren't sunshine and rainbows. I hope he's 100% not the a-hole, and honestly, I think he should keep his entire family away from his wife and baby for the next few months. She needs time to heal from this trauma and needs people who will love her and support her. Opie, you're doing great being there for your wife. Don't let your family near her again anytime soon. Not the a-hole times 1,000. You stood up for your wife in her most vulnerable state. That was ridiculously rude of your grandmother. Do not apologize to them for your wife. If anything, you should ask them to apologize to her. Thank you for having a shiny spine and protecting your wife and baby. This exactly. It's so exceptionally rare on here to find a story about a man who defends his wife to his family and prioritizes her first. It's amazing. Absolutely did the right thing. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for being too close to my ex-husband? 6 years ago, I got divorced from my now ex-husband. There was no drama that led to this. We simply realized we were no longer happy or in love, so it would have been a clean break if not for the fact we had a daughter who is now 11. Neither of us wanted to lose full custody of her or miss important moments in her life. She's the most important person in both our lives, and we debated on trying to make it work just for her, but realized that would only lead to all three of us becoming miserable. So we entered an arrangement that many would view as unconventional. When we sold our house, we used the money to buy 2 semi-detached houses that were joined and had a door installed between them. The construction company tried to warn us against this as it would affect resale value, but neither of us had any intention to sell, so we had them to go ahead with it. We also had them take down the fence between both our back gardens so our daughter would have an extra large back garden to play in. Many of you balk at the door, but there was an arrangement. It is strictly for our daughter's use and neither of us can use it barring any emergency, say a fire, a medical emergency or something being wrong with our daughter. She has 2 bedrooms, 1 in each house, and every day she can pick where she wants to have breakfast, dinner, and sleep. I won't lie, it was awkward at first, but for her sake we made it work and even regained a lot of the friendship we had lost, though it was of course strictly platonic now. Last year, my ex-husband married his girlfriend of 3 years, a lovely woman who I'm actually friends with, and I was even a guest at their wedding with my daughter being one of her bridesmaids. All in all, it's an arrangement everyone is content with, except for my boyfriend who I started to date 2 years ago. He understood the arrangement entering into the relationship. And while I said it was a bit weird, he never protested. It all seemed well. Things are getting more serious, and we've been discussing moving in together. and he has made it clear he wants me to move as he doesn't want to live next door to my ex-husband. I understood that, but told him that wouldn't be happening as my daughter had to come first, and our arrangements gave her a stable upbringing. He got upset with me and asked me how he was supposed to be a father to my daughter when she already had a dad, and he was literally a wall away. I won't lie, this took me by surprise as I had no idea he wanted to be a father to her. I told him gently but firmly that he wasn't her father, that she already had one, and that even her father's wife didn't try to be a mother. Instead, she is called by her name. I told him if he wants some kind of familial title, he could be an uncle, but I wouldn't give him permission to take her father's title when he is very much involved in her life. He told me if I loved him, I'd move for him, and despite me trying to tell him I do love him, he isn't listening. Am I the a-hole in this? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Sounds like you very clearly explained how things work in your world. Kudos for coming up with a unique parenting method that puts your daughter firmly as the most cherished outcome of your previous relationship. Your new boyfriend may not be compatible with your uniquely blended family, but of a red flag that he wants to appropriate the title of father, good on you for nipping that in the bud. Well done. Carry on without him if you can't get the brief. Even my ex-husband's wife doesn't get called mom or any variation of that. She is called by her name, and when my daughter is feeling particularly affectionate, a nickname. So yeah, I wasn't going to let him be a father. Not day hall since you were honest from the beginning. And your boyfriend's don't love me arguments seem to be his ego/insecurity speaking. Not gonna lie, but love the fact that you two put the love for your kid and her having some stability before your own egos and needs. Hope you have the strength and mental sanity to keep doing that, even if that would mean breaking up with your unreasonable boyfriend. Do him a favor and break up with him. He isn't going to be happy. You and your ex did this thing, and your ex is lucky you found someone who didn't have a problem with it. You may not be so lucky, but that is a chance you took doing this. It's hard to move on, and most people are not going to want to pursue a relationship with this kind of arrangement. That works for you and you're happy with it, then that's good. There is no way to compromise here. You aren't budging, so break up with this guy and let him go. Actually, I would argue that hopefully any emotional mature adult would see the beauty in this arrangement. Imagine getting involved with someone and you see firsthand how well they resolve such an issue, and how they are able to make an unusual decision that ends up being the best for everyone involved. Hope he sounds like a freaking catch to me. Not day home. He knew what he was getting into. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for punishing my stepdaughter after she refused to remove the family-framed photo she put all over my house? I, male 37, have been with my wife for 2 years. I have a stepdaughter, Nancy. She's 16 and she's difficult. So difficult to deal with. She generally has little to no respect for me. She'd respond to me saying, "What do you want, weirdo?" Or, "I do this or that once you divorce mom and leave us alone." Honestly, I don't know what her freaking problem is, and I don't care at this point. I still, however, expect her to respect me and my house and my boundaries. Lately, I started seeing framed photos of her mom, and her dad being distributed around the house, like the living room shelf or the kitchen counter. I brought it up with her, and her first thought was, jealous much? Does it serve a constant reminder of the fact that you broke this family up? I have to admit, this pissed me off beyond measure. I told her to remove them because I didn't agree on having them around in my house, specifically not her dad. She acted nonchalant about my request and basically ignored me. I warned her that I'd remove them myself, and she blew up at me saying this is her family. This is a part of her life and I should respect that. I reminded her this is my home, and she should have some respect and stop leaving pictures of her happy family around, period. I encouraged her to take them to her dad's house instead. That would be more appropriate in my opinion. She kept arguing, then walked out while mumbling under her breath, MF'er. I ended up punishing her, and then getting my wife remove the photos. My wife kept asking me to let the punishment go since the photos are no longer there, but I refused because Nancy hurts my feelings and disrespected me in my own home. She must have told her grandparents, who came after me even on social media crying abuse and mistreatment. And my wife has been acting like I started this, and that I'm the one at fault or the one who deliberately was looking for a fight. Info. Did you break up her family by having an affair with her mom? Either way, you're the a-hole. It's not your job to punish her. Respect goes both ways. Like it or not, she has a dad. And maybe you could have sat down and had a conversation about it and come up with a compromise. No, I did not break the family by having an affair. That is not what it was. As someone who got cheated on multiple times, cheating is a despicable act. You're the a-hole. Honestly, I don't know what her freaking problem is, and I don't care at this point. You're the adult, and you clearly don't want a relationship with your stepdaughter. Don't marry someone with a kid if this is your attitude. My house, my home. So, does Nancy not live here or what? My wife kept asking me to let the punishment go since the photos are no longer there. But I refused because Nancy hurts my feelings and disrespected me in my own home. Again, my home. It's clear from your language that you see Nancy as an irritation and not part of your life. Also, she hurts your feelings? Boo stinking who? Her whole life has been uprooted this last 2 years. Mom is allowing her daughter to be complete brat to assuage her own guilt of breaking up her own relationship with a father. That girl doesn't want a relationship with you because her mom has taught her to focus her anger and resentment on the outside offending party, you. So mama doesn't have to feel the guilt and wrath from her own daughter. In other words, mom is allowing you to be the scapegoat. However, don't make it worse on yourself by lashing out. It makes you look bad and further hurts all relationships. Everyone sucks here. Not stay home. First, for those folks, I'm assuming the teens that lurk around here, that think a step-parent can't punish a stepchild. Hell yes, they can. They're an adult that shares co-parenting responsibilities, not some squatter her mom is hooking up with. A step-parent can especially discipline a 16-year-old that is purposefully being a brat, cruel, manipulative, and trying to undermine her parents' authority. Calling an adult an MFer in their own home is never acceptable. In fact, her steady harassment and tactics with the photo is also abusive. Yes, mistreatment goes both ways. And just because she's a teenager doesn't let her off the hook because her feelings are hurt that her bio parents split up. She can be mad, and it's expected that she'll act out. But if this girl's behavior is as Opie describes it, well, that girl needs professional help at a new household. It doesn't matter if that relationship started out of infidelity. It's not any of her business. Also, Opie's wife needs to act like an adult and stop letting that kid run the house and stand by her spouse. She sounds like she lacks a spine out of fear of hurting her kids' feelings. Everything about this sucks, but Opie is definitely not the a-hole. Adults are allowed to have feelings and boundaries too.
Am I the a-hole for telling my mom and siblings they should learn to live with the consequences of their decisions? So my family is my dad, mom, my 2 sisters, and my 2 brothers. I'm 17 male, the oldest. My dad was estranged from his dad since he was my age. His mom died when he was 10, so we never knew grandma either. My dad was open about the fact grandpa wasn't a very nice man and all kinds of stuff, but he never went into details. I know he really did a number on Dad, because I still sometimes see Dad look ashamed if he spills something or makes a mistake. I also know he tries to hold back anytime he cries, and looks downright disgusted with himself for crying. 3 years ago, his dad reached out, and my mom and my sister, 15, were so excited, and basically welcomed him into the family. Dad said no way. He and mom fought a lot about it. My siblings all told Dad they had a right to know our grandfather, and he should love his dad. I was dragged along at first, but I stopped going. Dad has refused to have any part in it, and he and mom fought because he told her his father was never going to step foot inside our house, and if he did, Dad would leave, and he would never come back. So mom takes my siblings to see him. Christmas was a huge freaking fight last year because they decided to spend it with this dude, and my dad refused to go, and so did I. My siblings started crying in Dad's face that they wanted Christmas with him. Mom was calling him selfish. She tried to do the whole, I'm your mother and you listen to me, and Dad told her he's my father and I could stay with him if I wanted to. They're still sour about it, but then Dad took me out for his birthday and we didn't come home until late because he found out they were planning to take him out to meet with his father. My dad told my mom and my siblings that since he cannot trust them with his birthday, he will only celebrate with the people he can trust now. I also heard him tell mom this couldn't continue and they needed to divorce. Now my mom is freaking out because she doesn't want the divorce, and my siblings are really upset. They told me I should help since Dad and I are still close. I told them they should learn to live with the consequences of their decisions. I pointed out to Mom she was always big on us learning. I told them this is a big one. My mom told me my siblings are so young and don't deserve this. I told her it's all her fault because she undermined Dad by making a point to demand he come in front of my siblings, and so they think they can manipulate him and not listen. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, and I can absolutely see this from your father's point of view. My relationship with my father is similar to your father's relationship with your grandfather, and if someone tried to trick me into seeing my father or went around me to mend that fence, I'd be absolutely livid. He was also mad she helped my siblings have a relationship with the guy. I can see he worries every time they go to see the guy. I totally get it. I was in therapy for years to come to terms with my father, his actions, etc. I wish my dad got help when he was younger because I can see the strain it had on him and I hate it. My dad's the best and he loves us so much. It kills me to see this happen. Do you think your dad would be open to individual therapy now? He's most likely reliving a lot of his trauma because of this situation. It could help him immensely. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole at all. My dad was open about the fact Grandpa wasn't a very nice man and all kinds of stuff, but he never went into details. I know he really did a number on Dad because I still sometimes see Dad look ashamed if he spills something or makes a mistake. I also know he tries to hold back anytime he cries and looks downright disgusted with himself for crying. So this man literally abused your father. Then your mom and sister thought it would be wonderful if they reconnected? And your father shared this sensitive and personal information with her because he thought he could trust her? Why is your mom mad at him? You're absolutely right, my guy. She did this to herself and her family. She thinks because he's way older now at a grandparent. She said the worst parents can make the best grandparents and all that other crap. There's no guarantee that his abusive traits as a father won't carry over or influence how he would interact with your father, or indeed your siblings in the present. And your father clearly still feels the trauma. Your siblings do have a right to a relationship with this man, but they're doing so in a way that tramples over your father's boundaries, especially since they expect him to love their grandfather, and your mother is pushing for a Hallmark movie, feel-good reconciliation. Unless your mother changes course, the marriage is headed straight for divorce town, and she is going to risk losing you for it just because you have empathy for your father. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom that her remarrying made me prefer my father as a parent to her, and it's her fault we aren't as close? When I, 23 female, was 5, my parents divorced. It was very hard on me. My mother remarried 2 years later to my stepfather, Dan. Dan has one daughter, Delilah, 22. My stepfather and stepsister are both okay. I don't have any real problems with them, though I've just never felt close to them. They just don't feel like family. And I've always wished my parents had stayed together. As a kid, I always had Thanksgivings with Dad and Christmas with Mom. My dad burned the turkey the first year we had Thanksgiving together, and we went and got Chinese food. Ever since then, we've always gotten Chinese food for the holidays. I love the holidays with my dad because it's just me and him spending time together. Ever since the divorce, my dad has never dated or remarried. He's always said that I'll always be his #1 priority, and maybe he'll meet someone when I go off and get married. He spends a lot of time working too. My boyfriend has jokingly compared my dad to Charlie from Twilight, and it's awkwardly dead on. When my mom got married, I felt like I became her last priority. She always placed her new husband first, and we never spent time together one-on-one. As an adult, I've just spent all the holidays with my dad. He'd be alone without me anyway. My mom really wants me to come to Thanksgiving this year. She said she's sad because she feels like I'm way closer to my dad, which I am. I told her I'm closer to Dad because he's always placed me first, which she never has. She was upset and said she had a right to move on and find love and be happy. I told her she's right, she did have that right, but Dad didn't feel the same way, and that's why I have a better relationship with him. I told her I never got to just see my mom. It always had to be her and Dan and Delilah. She chose to make them her family, and I never had a choice in the matter and never felt like my feelings mattered. I see my mother a few times a year, whereas I see Dad at least once a week. My social media is filled with pictures of us going out and doing stuff, whereas I don't have any pictures or posts of my mother up. She said this hurts her feelings too, and apparently, our extended family and my grandma have commented on it. Am I the a-hole? I've always wished my parents stayed together. This seems like unresolved trauma relating to the divorce versus your mother doing anything wrong. Do you know why they divorced? Was your mother your primary caregiver, or did they split custody 50-50? They divorced because they just wanted different things and wanted to live different lifestyles. My mom is a lot more outgoing. She likes going to concerts, going on vacations, etc. My dad likes to watch TV and hang out at home more. They had split custody. Not the a-hole. You've let her know. She could plan some one-on-one time now, but I bet she won't. I sincerely doubt she will either. She wants to complain, but I don't think she's willing to put in the work to make things better. Were her feelings hurt before your grandma commented on it, or did she only notice it was a problem when someone else said something? She's been complaining for years that I've preferred my father over her. I guess until now I've never really explained in depth why. One day, with no words, each parent gets the scorecard, no grades, just love. Your mom hasn't been able to read the scorecard because she cannot accept the failing grade. Time will tell if her emotional investment was or is worth. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad I never wanted his wife at my appointments, and I tolerated it because I had no choice? My parents got divorced 5 years ago, and my dad got remarried 2 years ago. I, 16 female, think his wife is fine, but it's not like she's my mom or my favorite person, and I don't see us getting any closer over the years, because she can be a bit much at times. I have a medical condition that requires checkups every 6 months, and sometimes I need tests if something's off, and a change in treatment if it's needed. When my dad first got remarried, he insisted his wife should be there as well. Mom didn't want her there, and they fought over it. I told Dad I didn't want her there either, but he claimed I was parroting my mom and that I loved and needed his wife there. He told me it was okay and he'd make sure she was there. And when I went to tell him again, he cut me off and said it was fine and he'd handle it. She's been to every appointment since, and whenever I'm asked if I want to speak to the doctor without my parents there, I ask for it to be just me and Mom. My dad was confused about why, and his wife cried the first time and gets all mopey the other times. Dad has asked me why I wanted just Mom there, but he never let me answer. The other day, my parents were fighting about Dad's wife attending these appointments, and Dad said his wife was important and she deserved to be there. My mom told Dad his wife was nothing and had no business going anywhere near the appointments. Dad told Mom he would take her parenting time away if he could for that attitude, and he was angry the whole way back to his house. I told him I wouldn't let him take me away from Mom, and he said he was mad that she was denying my and his wife's connection and the fact I wanted her there. That's when I snapped and told him I never wanted her there. I told him that back then, and I tolerate her being there. I said she's not important to me. She's not needed, that she's more like a big baby when she cries or mopes after I ask to have the two of them leave the room, and I told him I do that because she's there, and I never wanted her intruding like that. My dad was literally stunned into silence for a day and a half, and when he talked to me, he told me the things I said were cruel and unfair to his wife, who did nothing to me. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. You're not the a-hole. Your boundaries are valid, and your dad should have respected them. The dad should have cared more about his child's comfort than his wife's inclusion. Period. If you're putting your partner's feelings above your kid's needs, you've failed the assignment. He is a parent before being a boyfriend to other. Exactly. It's wild how some parents forget that their first job is being a parent, not a partner. Your kid's comfort should never be negotiable like that. Tell your dad to stop acting like a 5-year-old and grow up. This random stranger he chose to marry is not entitled to your medical information, and her, an adult woman, crying about it is baffling. This, if you are in the US, once you turn 18, make sure your health records are changed to only allow who you authorize to have access, and a HIPAA authorization form. Also get a durable power of attorney and medical power of attorney, and make sure your healthcare providers have a copy of the latter. In some places it's 16 and others it's 14. It doesn't matter if you're the parent. I know this because when we moved from Texas to Kentucky, my daughter had to sign the forms to get her med history transferred herself, and she was still a minor, under 18. Ask your dad to let you accompany his wife to her next gynecologist appointment, and that you would like to be there when she discusses her medical issues with the doctor. This is what they are both expecting from you. Not the a-hole. His wife is not related to you and has no business attending your medical appointments. Your dad is strange trying to force this form of bonding. Is it because his wife is unable to have kids and she wants some form of parenting experience? Better still, tell him you want to assist to his next colonoscopy or urologist/proctologist appointment. You want to be there right besides the doctor during all of the visit. I hate when step-parents barge into their step-children's lives. Not the a-hole. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my business class seat to my wife on our international flight? My wife, 32 female, and I, 34 male, recently took an international trip to visit her family. We travel a lot for work and have built up a lot of frequent flyer miles and airline status. When we booked the tickets, we both got economy seats since that's what fit our budget. 2 weeks before the flight, my wife and I were sent an email from the airline telling us we were eligible for an upgrade using our miles. I informed my wife about this and asked her if it was okay to upgrade our tickets. She said that was fine and to go ahead and upgrade my ticket. Because we have separate accounts with the airline, she would have to upgrade her own ticket and I would have to upgrade mine separately. I offered to log into her account and upgrade her ticket when I upgraded mine, but she said that she would do it on her own. The week leading up to the flight, I had been reminding her to upgrade her ticket, but when the time came to go to the airport, she had not upgraded her ticket. When we got to the airport, I offered to switch tickets with her, but she declined. I went to the business class check-in while she went to the economy one. She seemed too distracted with checking in to be bothered with the ticket situation, but when we boarded the plane and I was heading toward business class, she was confused and asked me why I had not downgraded my ticket in order to sit with her. I explained to her that I was not aware that she wanted me to sit with her, and she turned away and stormed off to her seat. Landed, she was snippy with me and made an effort not to talk with me. The whole trip she made little comments about my ticket and refused to talk about it when I asked to. I sat next to her on the flight back, and she didn't say anything about it and seemed to be less aggravated. Now that we're back, she keeps bringing it up in passive-aggressive ways, saying things like, "Must have been nice to have all that extra room while your wife was cramped in the back." I brought this up with some of my friends. Some think I was in the right, but others say I should have given up my ticket. Am I the a-hole for not giving up my seat? Edit. There was no way I could have upgraded her ticket for her. I don't know her login information and she kept brushing me off. We've only been married for a year. Not the a-hole. You offered to upgrade it for her. She declined. You reminded her to upgrade before the trip. She declined. You offered to switch tickets with her. She declined. Do you see the pattern here? Also, did she ever once mention the idea of downgrading your ticket, if that is even possible? And even if you had, there would have been no guarantee that you'd sit together, since you checked in at different counters, with different attendants, etc. Your wife is being 100% unreasonable. She brought this on herself, and has nobody to blame but herself. Yeah, sounds like she was making up excuses just to have a way to guilt trip and emotionally manipulate OP later. Super weird behavior. Not the a-hole at all. Good news. Not the a-hole. Bad news? You married an idiot. I hope she has some good qualities, because she is. Chaotic if she doesn't have her tasks organized. unreliable, and adding to your mental load if you can't trust her to do simple tasks and also need to remind her. Can't ask for help while clearly she was overwhelmed, or is she just that careless? Can't communicate in a healthy way about her feelings, or even if she needs space. Is not willing to take responsibility and admit her mistakes. Not the a-hole. Are snippy remarks and silent treatment typical of her behavior or out of character? Could there be another issue? Have you spoken with her since about her behavior? This reeks of social media relationship test to me. Deliberately skip out on doing the upgrade, then see if your partner volunteers to give up their perk to sit next to you. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take in my disabled brother? So, I have an estranged, intense relationship with my mom and a lot of her side of the family. When I was 21, I became a single father to my daughter, Cece. I was working overnights in a warehouse, had to move back in with my mom and younger golden brother. I'll just call him Golden Boy going forward, as Cece's egg donor just decided she'd rather live the socialite life than be a mother. My mom was helpful with Cece when it was convenient for her. So if she had a rough day at work, she was more concerned with having a drink and unwinding than helping with her granddaughter. Golden Boy, though, I could write a book about how incompetent and useless he was. One day that is burned into my memory. Cece was only about 8 months old at the time. On my way home from work one morning, I got stuck in traffic on the way back. Tried calling home and let them know what was going on, and Cece likely needed to be fed. I get home almost 2 hours after clocking out. I hear Cece crying in our room and Golden Boy is sitting on the couch. He says something that almost sets me off like, "About damn time, she's been crying." I explain there was an accident blocking traffic I got caught in and ask him why she's crying. "Dunno," is all I get in response. Ask him for how long as I'm heading into my room. According to him, she had been crying for almost an hour, soiled diaper and hungry. Golden Boy couldn't be bothered to even check on her. After a couple years of these two acting like this, especially Golden Boy, I'm on the phone with my dad and stepmom. He offered me help with raising her, getting my life on track, etc. Cliff notes of what happened next. Cece's egg donor gets parental rights terminated, essentially leaving her without a legal mother. Mom starts giving me grief about running away from family responsibilities. Golden Boy is talking about what he's going to do to my room once we're gone. I'm packing everything up and make a 1,100-mile road trip several states away with a toddler with my phone turned off because my mom was blowing it up, demanding that I turn around and bring her only grandchild back to her. Since then, did meet a woman that is phenomenal with Cece. Got married. She adopted Cece officially a couple years ago, right after Mother's Day. We also have an 8-year-old son. We have made trips back to my hometown several times over the years, usually for holidays or stopping by on our way to Orlando. Hometown is in Florida, by the way. And over the years, Golden Boy has not shown the slightest interest in growing up or not being absolutely disgusting. I'm pretty sure there are stories about him on the Neckbeard subreddit. Details about Golden Boy. He's 36 years old now, still lives at home with mom. He's been on disability for a while, not entirely sure how long, for seizures. He had them as a teenager, then stopped for a while, came back as an adult, and his fast food job couldn't keep him around. Can't have someone having a seizure around hot oil and sharp knives. So he and my mom went through the process of getting him on some sort of disability, so he does nothing but sleep and play video games all day. He thinks he's the cool uncle for some reason. Legit has those words on his Facebook. We never stay with them when we're in town, and Cece has been very vocal over the last 6 years that he makes her feel very uncomfortable. When she was 12, he offered to let her smoke or drink with him. She's smart enough to say no. Since to him, kids your age are gonna do it anyway. Might as well do it with an adult you trust. Or talk about his relationships. Last one was, no lie, 17 years ago, in uncomfortable detail, with his child niece. He even has to be reminded to freaking bathe. Both Cece and my 8-year-old son have called him out for smelling like straight-up BO and cat pee, which according to my mom is rude and uncalled for. And I need to make this part clear. He has never been diagnosed as autistic, developmentally challenged, or neurodivergent in any way. He's just been raised to be entitled and lazy. But that's everything up to this. We recently got back from an Orlando trip, passed through my hometown without stopping. Got that guilt-laden phone call from my mom about how they missed us, etc. Whatever. And she drops this thing. She updated her will to leave everything split between me and Golden Boy, and she wants me to take him in and take care of him if anything happens to her. I couldn't help but laugh and tell her, exact words, not a snowflake's chance in hell is he ever living with us. She knows he makes Cece uncomfortable, but her logic is since she's going off to college soon and will be out and on her own soon, that means we'll have the space for him and Cece won't have to worry about him. She goes on to explain that he can't take care of himself because of his seizures. He can't cook for himself, he can't clean up after himself, and he can't remember to bathe unless he's reminded. Then she started going on about how Cece shouldn't feel uncomfortable around him because he openly talked about his sex life to his niece when she was 12, because he doesn't know better. Last thing I said to her was, "You are describing someone that needs assisted living, not a room in a house with people unqualified to provide the assistance he clearly needs. And I'm not making my kids spend time around anyone that makes them feel uncomfortable, family or not. So honestly, I don't even really care if I'm the a-hole or not. This whole thing just started pissing me off." Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, F that guy. Block her OP. Not just about blocking her, it's about cutting her out for good. I know people with insane parents, and in my opinion, it's way better to have no family at all than to let someone like that keep poisoning your life. Not the a-hole, but ask for a copy of the will. If it's guardianship of the man-child, then put him in assisted living. I plan on consulting a lawyer to make sure my bases are covered. But from what my wife and I found is that there's no sibling responsibility laws in Florida or Texas, where we are, and they can't legally make me take him in. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm confident of this. She can put whatever the heck she wants in her will. That doesn't mean you have to take him in, although depending on your location and how smart her lawyer is, that might mean you don't get whatever your inheritance would be. Not the a-hole, and I'm surprised you're still in touch with either of them. I wouldn't be. I mainly keep in touch with her for my kids' sake. Dad and stepmom passed 6 and 4 years ago. Mom got sober a few years after I left, and although I still keep her at a distance, I can at least say she's a decent grandmother now, current situation excluded. But as it stands, if my inheritance is dependent on taking him in, I'm more than willing to just let everything go. Yeah, if you had to look after your brother for the rest of his life, it would cost an awful lot more than whatever your mother will be leaving you as an inheritance. Unless your mother is an heiress, which I doubt is the case given your story. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to loan money to my sister for my niece's college fund after she spent most of it on prom? So I, 37 female, have a sister, 40 female, who's a single mom to my niece, 17 female. She's done most of it on her own since her daughter was born. And while we've had ups and downs, I've always tried to be supportive. My husband and I have a 14-year-old daughter ourselves, and we're not exactly rolling in it either. But we've been careful, planned ahead, and have tried to keep things stable. About 5 years ago, I started contributing money toward a college fund for my niece. Nothing huge, just here and there. Birthdays, tax return leftovers, a couple hundred from my bonus. That kind of thing. My sister said she was adding some too, and over time it grew to just over $11,000. The entire idea, which we both agreed on, was that it was for college only. Not rent, not clothes, not bills, and definitely not prom. Well, prom was in late April. My niece looked absolutely beautiful. She had this pale blue fitted dress. Her hair was done in this really pretty updo. Makeup was on point. Nails, shoes, they all looked great. She and her friends got a limo, went to some Italian restaurant before the dance, and did a little photo shoot thing. It wasn't celebrity-level extravagant, but it was definitely expensive. I remember seeing the photos and thinking, wow, they all look amazing. Followed immediately by, how exactly did they pay for this? So earlier this week, I was going over some financial stuff. I've been managing the account the college fund is in since it's technically in my name too. And I see that about $7,000 is gone with no explanation. It wasn't hacked or anything. It was my sister. She used it to cover prom expenses and didn't even mention it to me. When I called her, she didn't even seem that surprised to hear from me. She was kind of cagey at first, then got defensive and said she only used some of the fund and that there's still enough for a couple of semesters at community college if my niece doesn't get a scholarship somewhere else. Like, that makes it okay. I told her I was shocked she didn't ask me, and she just went off about how it was her daughter's only prom, that she deserved something special, and how she's been through so much lately and she just wanted her to feel like she belonged. I get that things have been rough for them, but I still couldn't believe she just dipped into that money like it was hers. Then she hits me with, I was gonna rebuild the fund over the summer anyway, but I'm short now. Can you spot me like $2,000 just for now? I told her no. I didn't yell or anything, just a clear no, and now it's a full-on meltdown. She said I'm holding money over her head, that I'm showing my true colors, that I don't really care about her or my niece, and now she's dragged our mom and other relatives into it. My mom texted me this whole long thing about families sticking together and how prom only happens once. And the worst part? My niece texted me too. She said she didn't know the money came from her college fund and she's sorry, and that she doesn't want me and her mom to fight. And now I feel like absolute garbage. But like, what was I supposed to do? I've got my own daughter, and we've been saving bit by bit for her too. I can't just casually drop thousands of dollars to refill a fund someone else emptied without even telling me. My husband agrees with me and said if we want to help my niece with college in the future, we can, but not directly through my sister. I love my niece and I want her to succeed, but I don't trust my sister with money anymore, and I'm sick of being made out to be some villain for having boundaries. $7,000 for prom? Why do I believe that she took some and put it in her own pocket? Was her dress couture? Custom made with actual diamonds? Your sister has definitely been pilfering. There is no way it cost $7,000. None. OP, your sister did something else with the money, unless she paid for everything for the whole group and then some. I know prom dresses can be expensive, but they don't have to be. I'd ask your sister for itemized receipts for prom. Tell her you want to understand exactly how the money was spent, because you do not understand how it is possible to spend $7,000 on prom when most people spend a small fraction of that and have a gorgeous prom. I know other parts of the country are different, but we live in a fairly high cost of living area, and I've never known a family to spend more than $800 to $1,000 total on prom, and that includes a share of a party bus, a nice dinner, etc. Why doesn't your niece have a job? The only way for kids to become financially literate is for them to be taught. My granddaughter's dress cost $15 and a dry cleaning bill. She does, but it had been going towards saving up for an apartment plus some of my sister's bills, and I don't know if that's changed since she found out about the money from her college fund being used for prom. Time for your sister to learn a valuable lesson about FAFO. Do not contribute anything to an account she has access to. Frankly, I would withdraw any funds equal to what you have contributed. You can create a separate account over which you have sole control, and you can make withdrawals or payments directly to a higher learning facility. But sis doesn't get to touch it, ever. Maybe give your niece the benefit of the doubt. Not that I'm not skeptical, but no one gets to distribute funds but you. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my parents a chance to know my kids because I want to break the cycle of verbal abuse? Growing up, my parents were verbally abusive. It was a generational thing because my mom's parents were exactly the same, and apparently her grandparents were too. It wasn't just from parent to child either, but grandparent to child and grandchild too. So I got that treatment from both of my parents and both of my maternal grandparents. And when my mom knew she'd see her parents soon, she'd be even more verbally abusive. There was a lot of control involved in it. Do this, do that. And when we, because I had siblings, did it wrong or did it in a way other than how our parent or grandparent wanted us to do it, we were useless, worthless, dumb, idiots, unintelligent, etc. My mom and grandma were big on the whole, girls need to learn homemaking early, and I was expected to cook for my family when my mom wanted nights off, and she expected me to cook exactly like her without being shown. Any mistake, like forgetting the salt, or any inconsistency, like it didn't look the same, and I was a screw-up, and any woman should know how to do those things well, and I was a failure. I struggled a lot with math, and I got B's and C's in math class. That was not okay. My dad would scream when he saw it. My mom would tell me I was only struggling because I wasn't doing enough, and that I should study math until my fingers were bleeding and my eyes were sore and dry, and if I had to, I should stay up all night and study. One time they cut a teacher off when she was saying I was doing really well in math considering, and they said, "No, don't coddle her. She's just a lazy freaking kid." And I didn't need to be praised for not really trying. My teacher tried to explain to them that I was trying, but they just verbally berated me in front of her and told her she was wrong to acknowledge my effort. The R word was used that night in front of my teacher, and after that, at least at school, I was given more support to help me keep my grades high. I know she reported my parents to CPS too, but they didn't find verbal abuse to be good enough to intervene, I guess. I was also called a whore by my dad at 12 because I wore some lip gloss a friend had put on me at school. And there's so much more. I mean, my own grandparents called me a good example of why abortion should always exist and why it's needed. They had something similar to say for all their grandkids. All of it continued until I moved out and went no contact at 18. My siblings all had to deal with that stuff too. But while I went no contact, they stayed around our parents and have all repeated the cycle with their own kids. I have stayed determined to break the cycle, and one way of doing that for me is keeping them far away from me and my kids, who are still babies right now. But I am determined to do better for my children. My husband supports this, but my mother-in-law lives with a lot of regret for her own no-contact situation with her parents, and she advocates against no contact now. I think in her head, all teens blow stuff up into being worse than it is, because she feels like she did it, and that attempts should be made so you don't live with regret. She has asked me what the harm is with my parents knowing my kids if I'm in the room to protect them, and I said the harm is that you can't take back what's said once it happens. You can leave fast, but it still happened. And how many chances do you give if you try? Because it becomes a pattern, and it gets internalized by kids, even if it happens infrequently. I said it doesn't need to be contact every day or week for it to stay with you. She talked about her feelings after her mom died, and I sympathized with her, but said it was different. I know she is now stressed out that I would not try. She said she's so afraid of me walking her path, but I have never regretted going no contact, and I see it as the only way to ensure my kids are safe. I don't trust that my parents will ever be capable of change or doing better. And history shows that these people are not better grandparents than parents. But I know I haven't had anything to do with my parents in over a decade now, so maybe I'm being unfair? And for that reason alone, even though I feel so strongly about this, I'll ask if I'm the a-hole for not giving them a chance. Even half a chance by trying to make contact one time. Now for the comments. You're not heartless for protecting your babies. You're the cycle breaker your whole bloodline needed. Love doesn't always look like connection. Sometimes it's fierce distance. Make it clear to mother-in-law that this is not negotiable, and any interference will not be tolerated. Not the a-hole. There have been too many examples on Reddit of friends, family, girlfriend, boyfriend trying to fix these situations and screwing things up royally. Not the a-hole. You're protecting your kids, and that's what real cycle breaking looks like. Blood doesn't excuse damage. Healing starts with boundaries, and you're setting the bar. I've found that blood relations can hurt and treat you worse than anyone else in your life. Sometimes it's unintentional. Other times it's a true long-standing generational trauma, and a cycle nobody wants to or can break. But someone needs to.